Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in this tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. I lost the video that I shot as the intro to today's video, so I'm shooting it again, but actually the cooking's all done. Today I am trying another TikTok recipe. I love the recipe side of TikTok. It is a bit of a black hole. You can spend hours on there, but there's always such great ideas. And I saw this video that I really wanted to try. Now, in the original video, it is not a vegan recipe. He uses a rotisserie chicken, and I'm making a substitution in my version in order to make it vegan. So we're going to use artichoke hearts instead of the rotisserie chicken. Obviously, make the ingredients vegan, use the vegan versions of the ingredients that he uses. I almost always have these ingredients in my pantry. The gnocchi is in my cupboard. I always keep the sun-dried tomatoes and artichoke hearts in my pantry because I love them on pasta and on flatbreads and on pizzas. Sophie, do you like them? She's not sure, and we're not going to let her try. I'm going to show you the ingredients and then we're going to get to making it, and I hope you enjoy the video. Here are the ingredients for the gnocchi spinach pasta. Gnocchi, you can get gluten-free gnocchi. This Western family one is just made with potatoes, and it does have wheat in it, but you can get gluten-free if you're gluten-free, but it is vegan. And then some artichoke hearts. I'm using this jar of marinated artichoke hearts. It's 170 milliliters. A jar of sun-dried tomatoes in oil. This is a 210 milliliter jar, but whatever small jar you can find. Don't drain the oil. We're going to be using the oil for cooking. Some minced garlic or a couple of garlic cloves. 1 cup of veggie stock. I'm just going to use this bouillon. Some heavy creamer. I'm using the Earth's Own oat for cooking. This stuff is really good. It's nice and thick and rich. Doesn't have any sweetness or flavor to it. Salt and pepper to taste, and then some Parmesan, grated Parmesan cheese. I was going to buy a block of the Violife and grate it myself, but I couldn't find any. But I love this Earth Island. I almost always have this. So that's what you're going to need for the ingredients. Super easy, super fast. We're going to give this a try. The first thing we're going to do is dice up the artichoke hearts and the sun-dried tomatoes. You don't have to use a full jar of sun-dried tomatoes. I might not, we'll see. But what you want to make sure you're doing is saving the oil, because we're going to use that to cook. Sorry for that noise. So this is going to be a little greasy. I'll pour out the oil. It'll make it a little easier to get these out of there. Not everybody likes sun-dried tomatoes. I love them. So even if I don't use this full jar, I will be using them on pizzas, flatbreads, things like that. But I might use the full jar. Why not? So I'm just going to roughly chop them a little bit smaller. They're a little hard to chop. This recipe I saw on TikTok. And in the recipe that I saw, they used a rotisserie chicken. I will link that recipe down below this video. Obviously, I'm not going to use a rotisserie chicken because I don't eat meat. And I could have used, the tofurkey vegan chicken. But I wanted to see if I could make it without using any of those sort of meat substitutes, because I know not everybody likes to use those. So we're going to use the artichoke hearts in place of the chicken to give that, it doesn't give the same texture, but a little bit of the same sort of texture. Just going to pour the oil back in there. I love artichoke hearts. Now you can buy artichoke hearts in tins and jars that are not marinated. They're just plain, packed in water, I think. I happen to like the marinated ones, so that's what I'm using, because I love to use them, like I say, on flatbreads, in pasta, all of those things. So, but these are packed in oil again, so if you are oil free, I don't know if this recipe is for you, because it does count on the flavored oil from the sun-dried tomatoes to give it a ton of flavor. But you could minimize it by using artichoke hearts that are not marinated in oil dressing, but save the liquid from these as well, because it's great to use in a salad dressing because it has so much flavor. So there's no point. It's just so tasty, and it's awesome to save. So just throw that in your fridge, and the next time you're making a salad dressing, use that. Why not, I say. So these are just going to get a rough chop because we want lots of texture, because again, they're replacing the chicken portion of the original recipe. Another really simple recipe to make on a weeknight. You can see that there's barely any chopping, and it's quite healthy because we're using the sun-dried tomatoes and the artichoke hearts and spinach. And I just love gnocchi. It's one of my favorite things. I like it in soup. I really like it in a recipe like this. All right, so that is done. For those of you who watched last Wednesday's video and commented on Sophie going to use her litter box while I was cooking, I totally missed that in the editing, so I apologize. Luckily, you couldn't see what she was doing in there. You couldn't see her doing her business. But yeah, so I've turned her litter box around. She's going to be a little confused by that, but it is what it is. Oh, now when I have greasy hands, trying to open a jar is going to be even harder. Should have done this before my hands were greasy. There we go. Awesome. So let's get cooking. So into our frying pan, I'm going to add in a couple of tablespoons of the oil that the sun-dried tomatoes came in. This is what gives the recipe the majority of its flavor. So I think it's really kind of important. And I'm going to turn this on and let that get warming up. And then we're going to put in the garlic. This is a super fast recipe as well, once you get started. All right, this doesn't take long to warm up. Put it on a low to medium, and then we're going to add in the garlic. Again, a couple teaspoons, or probably 3 cloves, I would guess, if you were mincing it yourself. I'm lazy today, so I'm just going to do a couple teaspoons of the garlic. And I'm going to add in the sun-dried tomatoes as well. They're cooked. They don't need cooking per se. Yeah, so just let that saute for about a minute or so. The house already smells really good, because I really don't want to burn that garlic. You want it to get nice and fragrant, but not burnt. And now I'm going to add in the gnocchi, and you want to really toss it well so that it gets coated in this really flavorful oil. These can sometimes be stuck together, so just break them apart. Okay, so now I'm going to add in the artichoke hearts. I didn't add them earlier because I didn't want to really break them up a ton. They're going to break up a bit. Now you'll notice that we didn't cook the gnocchi before we put it in there, because we're adding broth and we're going to cover it and let it simmer. And I'm also not going to add the salt and pepper until after, because there's a little salt in the sun-dried tomatoes and in the artichoke hearts and in the broth, obviously. So I'm going to add the broth, and then I'm going to add in 2 handfuls of spinach. Let's stir this around first. which will wilt down to virtually nothing, but add as much as you want. I'm just going to add 2 handfuls in there. 1, 2. And then I'm going to cover this and let it simmer on low for probably about 5 minutes, giving it a stir occasionally. Oops. And I'll see you back then. Okay, so I've taken my opportunity to do my dishes, and let's see what this is looking like. Oh yeah, that looks good. It smells really good too. So it's absorbed most of the moisture. I am going to add a 1/4 cup of the cream now. I didn't want to add it in earlier just in case it curdled. I haven't really experienced the oat milk curdling, but just in case. So I'm going to add that in. And the recipe that I saw on TikTok added the Parmesan to the whole dish. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a handful, probably anywhere from a 1/4 cup, probably a 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to add more when I'm serving it. So we're just going to stir that in. I should give this a taste just to see if it needs salt. Don't think it needs salt, but I do think it needs pepper. But that's good. It's actually not a heavy dish. You would think it would be. The sauce is mostly made creamy because of the starch from the potatoes in the gnocchi. Add a little Parmesan. There you go. Can you see that? It's me from the future of the video that you just watched. I could not stand it in editing as I realized I had cut off my head. I am experimenting with using the rear camera because it's a much better camera, but then I can't see where I am in the shot. So I apologize. So it's lunchtime the next day, and I've heated up some of this for lunch, and I just wanted to do the taste test where you could actually see me. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. It's even better the next day. I think that the artichoke hearts actually, especially the marinated ones, actually add a lot of flavor as well. I don't know what it would have tasted like in the original recipe with the rotisserie chicken, but it just goes to show you don't need it in here. I mean, these gnocchi are just these soft pillows of amazing goodness that absorb all of the flavors from the sun-dried tomatoes and the artichoke hearts. Because you notice we didn't add any spices. All of the flavor came from the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. And I think those marinated artichoke hearts actually really do add a lot. So if you don't mind that they are packed in a little bit of oil, use them because they're delicious. That was so good. And I think really quite healthy. Yes, there's oil. I get it. But if you're not oil free, this is delicious. Fairly inexpensive. I mean, the sun-dried tomatoes, it can be a little bit expensive, but not super bad. And artichoke hearts are really easy to find. The jar that I showed you is the no-name brand from the local superstore here. So not expensive and easy pantry staples. So on a weeknight when you're tired, you want to feed yourself, maybe some little rugrats or a spouse or a partner, and you want to make something that looks like you put in a lot of effort. This is the dish, because it was not a lot of effort. You saw it. It was super fast and super delicious. So that's the ending to the video that I wanted to shoot. I'm so sorry for the previous clips where, you're not seeing me, but really this is the star of the show. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you try this. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.